Don't be a boob. For more videos like this one, please subscribe to this channel.
Significantly, actually, from several people, just saying, if he can just feel good again and get the confidence he had with Frank Wright that we saw in Philly in 17, Carson can play. The guy can do it. So he would be my #1 choice for. I'm just really curious to see what we're going to get. And my second, if that's okay, Zubin, would be Sam Darnold. I think if the New York Jets stick with him, you know, and it's a big if. My sources are telling me they're still evaluating. I don't know what that exactly means, like how much evaluating they need to do to make this decision. But right now, that's just what I'm being told, is they're still trying to figure out what they want to do there. I think with the new coaching staff, Sam Darnold, you know, I still believe in him. I still think he's a player. And I think with a solid, you know, defense that Robert Saleh can bring in there, and perhaps maybe a run game, and if they can go grab a weapon for Sam to give him some help, I think this could be the season that we see the best version of Darnold.
Well, that'll be good for him. I know you've been all over the Jets all offseason, Dianna, and not knowing, but following them to give us some good insight on them. Tell me this, though. If they decide that Sam's the guy and they're going to stick with him, who do they draft and what do they do with the #2 pick?
This is how I know you talk to people in the league, because you described me as annoying. So that means that people have told you that. So thanks, Kay. At least I know to tone down the text messaging with everybody. Look, so this is hard, right? This is the time of year where, you know, everyone wants to know what every team is doing. And teams are still figuring this out. Even though we're not at the combine right now, you know, teams are meeting with draft picks every single day over Zoom. Any coach or GM that I've talked to over the last 2 weeks, I can't really get them on the phone during the day because they're meeting with these potential prospects. So it's hard to really gauge where the Jets are going to go, because there's so many layers to this draft, especially, and I think this is probably the biggest X factor, is if Deshaun Watson gets traded. How is that going to affect the top of this draft? And you know, I feel like I need to continually circle back to what's going on in Houston. It's status quo. They still don't want to let him go. So if he winds up staying in Houston and the New York Jets decide that Sam's the guy, and you know, I keep reminding myself that you know, Sam Darnold is not Joe Douglas's guy, right? So Joe came in and Sam was there. How much does Joe Douglas really believe in what Sam Darnold can do? Because the other quarterbacks that they're looking at, guys, we look at this all the time. You take a look at the league, and Dan Orlovsky made a great point this morning when we were talking about this. You know, he said there's only like 5 or 6 great quarterbacks in the NFL, yet every year come draft, we're talking about like 4 or 5 superstars. And it's like we never learn. It never pans out to actually be that. There's only 1 or 2 that really come out and develop and turn into great franchise quarterbacks here. So do you want to take a chance on a Sam Darnold who maybe hasn't been given the best, most fair shake? And yes, he's dealt with some weird injuries, end injuries, and tons of different coaches. Or do you want to take that chance of going back out there to see what a young college prospect could do? And this is probably what's making it so difficult for the New York Jets at this point, because you know, it seems like it's a tough decision.
Dianna, it seems like the 49ers are taking another chance for another year on Jimmy G. What are your thoughts on John Lynch's comments the other day backing Jimmy G as their quarterback for this year coming forward?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked me that, because when I saw the quotes yesterday, I was like, man, look at John Lynch coming out for his boy. Finally, he's given Jimmy the respect and showing him love. And then I thought about the quote a little bit more, and I read it again. And Jay, you've cared about people before. You've wanted people badly. You've been in love before. Does that sound like a quote of a guy that is so into somebody, right? This isn't like banging on the table, Jimmy's our guy. We've heard organizations talk about quarterbacks they want and they love. It's so crystal clear. You don't doubt it. Look how excited the Steelers are that Ben Roethlisberger has decided to restructure. They got statements coming out, and they're holding press conferences. They're doing all this. They're amped to have him back. You know, that's just one example of a million that we can give of teams being psyched to have their starter return. I just don't get this feeling that San Francisco is really into Jimmy and really in love with him. I think they're saying the right things, and either they're going to see how this draft shakes out. And you know, I still wouldn't be surprised if they decide to move on.
It's fascinating. Every quarterback Dianna brought up, whether it's Sam Darnold, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, or Jimmy G, could all be the answer to this morning's poll question about who is make or break. Diana's going with Wentz. We'll hear from you. Dianna, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, guys. That was really fun. This is a good segment.
Thank you, Dianna.